we've all seen it, we all know what he can do. Barnes will tear you apart again. But at the moment, in the last couple of matches when Eddie Howe was trying to bring him into this team like we've all wanted, he's not quite tearing things up for a lot of games. But we've all seen in glimpses exactly why we signed him. It's a problem like many that Eddie Howe's had since the start of the season on bringing and integrating new players in. And we're going to talk a little bit more about why maybe Harvey Barnes isn't tearing us apart again a little bit more. So if you're curious Newcastle fans, and I think you are, do us a little favour and make sure you stick around. Welcome back to Black White Banter, ladies and gentlemen, from quite a sunny St James's Park. Yes, I'm back outside doing what I love, talking about things a little bit more serious with all of the fun stuff in between. So if you are new around here, thank you very much for dropping in. Let's talk about Mr. Harvey Barnes. Let's get down to business. Look, we signed this man last summer, a year gone, £35 million, double figures for goals for Leicester City in 2 seasons running. That included a relegation season, so the man knows where the goal is. There was a couple of eyebrows raised, but I thought it was a good bit of business. He was actually breaking in and around the England team at the time. Of course, we all know what happened. He stubbed his toe. His time at Newcastle last season was very, very mixed. And when he did come back into the team, bang, you name it, he started scoring goals, including that absolute screamer against West Ham. Who could ever forget that? Harvey Barnes! Amazing commentary, amazing everything. 4-3-1 down, 4-3 up. But Eddie Howe, I didn't know whether it was going to be Gordon versus Barnes for that left-hand side spot. Eddie Howe is now trying to integrate the £35 million man. It makes sense. That's why you spend the money on an attacking player. But we're just not seeing that much of him when he's actually starting matches, in my opinion. And yes, it's very early, and I'm going to go on record and say everyone in that team has to get to know Harvey Barnes. Lewis Hall at left-back has to build a relationship with him down that left-hand side. Our midfield need to build a relationship with him. Don't forget Tonali is just coming back in. But what I'm worried about at the moment when I'm watching this Newcastle team play is that Harvey Barnes needs to play in a certain way, and he needs other players around him to help him in a certain way. And I don't think our midfield three right now are doing that, and that's not going to allow us to get the best out of Harvey Barnes. But what do I mean by that? Well, unless you've been living under a rock and you don't know much about Harvey Barnes, before he signed for Newcastle, we were never ever signing an Anthony Gordon Part 2. Harvey Barnes is not going to get the ball and take a man on. In fact, I would even go as far as saying that is where he does not want the football. He does not want to be in a position where he has to take the ball past someone to make something happen. And I'll share his dribbles on the screen in recent years compared to other players in the Premier League, and you'll see him right at the bottom to back up my case on that. So instantly, on that left-hand side, Anthony Gordon, we know he wants the ball. He'll take on one, he'll take on two, running down the wing. Gordon makes the Jordan. Sorry, can't stop chanting. That's going to be in my head for the rest of the night. He's not that sort of player. I will go back to my original statement. We signed Harvey Barnes to score goals. But would you also believe me if I said, as of his time at Leicester, Harvey Barnes scored the most goals from give and go? Crazy stat. I don't know where these people, these nerds who've probably never had sexual intercourse before, find these stats, but there you go. Harvey Barnes is above some of the players like Salah, players like Mane when he was in the Premier League. That is something that Harvey Barnes prides himself about, and that is his strong point. I would even show you a stat that shows that Harvey Barnes has had the most shots from give and go in his time at Leicester before he came into this Newcastle team. It all centres around this player needing a closer midfield three to him to play in and around him. And Alexander Isak, his striking player, who he would love to link up with more, if I'm being totally honest with you, from what I've seen this season, is not offering that. And where I'm concerned at the moment, which is a different conversation, is that Joe Linton, Bruno and Tonali as a three, all brilliant in their own right. That's the midfield that gets every single Newcastle fan frothing, and not close enough up to the pitch, supporting enough into the box, Joe Linton maybe aside, for Harvey Barnes to get that give and go link up. And Alexander Isak at the moment as our sole striker looks very isolated. And I look at some of Harvey Barnes' best goals for Leicester when he was really, really thriving. And his link-up play with Jamie Vardy at times was absolutely brilliant, because Jamie Vardy would come, receive the ball, wait for Barnes to make the run in behind, and then give and go. And that's where some of his best goals were. And I'll share some of these graphics on the screen. He's built around either a ball over the top and being on the last shoulder. As soon as you give him the football, he'll give it back to you and he'll be on the move. And I just think this Newcastle team at the moment are so built around an Anthony Gordon on the left, where you get the ball out to him as an outlet and then you drive. And Joe Linton, Bruno and Tonali will support. Joe Linton at the moment for me is pretty much our sole defensive midfielder for large parts. Bruno does his bit, but he's not the athlete that Joe Linton is in and around mopping things up. And Tonali looks like he's going to play on that right-hand side of that midfield three, so he's not going to be supporting Barnes. And what I worry about is that until we start setting up slightly different and playing differently, we are not going to see the best of a man who does not want the ball at his feet to take a man on. And against Man City last Saturday, as I record this video, for me, Barnes was so isolated. He had 23 touches of the ball the whole game. I think 2 of them were in the box. But this is not the Harvey Barnes bash and show. Every solid goal, to my recollection, that he has scored for Newcastle so far in the bit part career that he's had for us, he's made it himself. There has even been an element of touch and go and hit. His striking rate is absolutely incredible. I would even go as far as to say, strikers aside at Newcastle, no one will strike a ball better than Mr. Barnes. West Ham, most of his own doing. Wolves, in that 2 West Ham last season, Wolves this season, who could forget that one? All of his own doing, absolutely orgasmic. Get the Yankee candle, shut the curtains and watch that one back. All of these goals that he's scoring for us are of his own doing, but I think that we can get so much out of this player if we support him a little bit further up and we make options for him in and around those pockets of space down that left-hand side. For me, he's looking really, really isolated, and I would even say against Wimbledon in the Cup, low league opposition, didn't expect to see him starting, but he did. He looked isolated. It's a transition, but it's a one that I really think that Eddie Howe has to figure out quickly, because Barnes is essentially, I don't like to say these words, against Man City, it was like he wasn't on the pitch. Everything came down the right-hand side. And is that relationship with Lewis Hall really important to that? Of course. Lewis Hall's going to overlap. He's going to open up space for Barnes. But again, he's not the sort of player to run past a man, run past 2. He wants to get rid of the ball so he can be the one in behind to then get the shot off. That's where Harvey Barnes' strengths lie. And I'm going to chuck a curveball in on this conversation before I wrap this one up. Joe Willock, I will sing from the rooftops that he is integral to this Newcastle team still. And if Joe Willock gets moved on because of injury, I understand. But we need a midfielder like him, because Joe Willock is someone who can play in that first 3, but also support the likes of Barnes and give him then gives and goes. And they can interchange in that way. Joe Linton has got better at it, but Bruno and Tonali don't offer that. They do not offer that as their first midfield 3. Alexander Isak needs to work on his relationship with Harvey Barnes, because we will continue to not get the best out of a player who has a fantastic goal conversion rate for a midfielder, again in a relegated Leicester team, but also look at them given goal and shot stats, better than some of the best wingers in the world. That's my thoughts on Harvey Barnes. On to big matches we go. I want to see Harvey Barnes in the team, and I am not bashing him in any way, shape or form. I'm just worried that not only do I think that Anthony Gordon is better on that side, and that's where Anthony Gordon loves playing, that we just not getting the best out of him the way we play. Let me know your thoughts down below, Newcastle fans. We know Harvey Barnes will tear you apart again. We love to sing it in the stands, and he's got an absolute wand of a right foot. But how are we going to get more out of that? I want your thoughts down below. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you whack that subscribe, whack that little likey loo, whack that follow. I'm massively under the weather recording this, so, you know, get the small violins out, and I'll see you on the next one. Keep the faith. I'm going for a pint in the stack. How are you, lads?